The alarm systems across the Galactic Council headquarters activated at the same moment. Thousands of light years away from Earth, in the grand chamber built from crystal and metal, the representatives of 200 species gathered in confusion. Something unprecedented had happened. Humanity had gone silent. Ambassador Tevron stood at the central podium, his forearms gesturing at the holographic displays floating around him. Each display showed the same thing: closed embassies, terminated contracts, severed communication links. Every single human diplomatic station across the galaxy had shut down within a 24-hour period. No warnings, no explanations, no goodbyes. "This makes no sense," Tevron said, his translator converting his clicks and whistles into standard galactic language. "Humans have been our partners for 300 years. They were eager to join us, eager to learn, eager to trade. Why would they suddenly abandon everything?" Council leader Verhesh sat on his elevated throne, his massive form barely fitting in the seat designed for his species. He waved one clawed hand dismissively. "Perhaps they are having internal problems. A change in their government, maybe? This will pass. Humans are emotional creatures. Give them time to sort themselves out." But others were not so calm. Trade Minister Kelvos pulled up financial records. "They have withdrawn all their assets from galactic banks. Every credit, every investment, every trade agreement terminated. This was planned, not impulsive." The chamber filled with concerned murmurs. Species whispered to each other in hundreds of languages. The humans had seemed so harmless, so friendly, so eager to please. This sudden change frightened them in ways they did not fully understand. Tevron tried again to contact Earth's primary representative, a human named Deho who had served as their ambassador for 20 years. The communication request bounced back immediately. Not delayed, not refused, simply non-existent. As if the entire network had been erased. Across the galaxy, on Earth, Director Minho stood in a facility buried deep beneath the city of Seoul. The room around him buzzed with activity. Hundreds of technicians worked at their stations, their screens filled with data streams and system protocols. This was the heart of humanity's withdrawal operation, and everything was proceeding exactly as planned. "Report," Minho said simply. A young officer approached. "All diplomatic staff have returned home. The final transport arrived 30 minutes ago. All embassy buildings have been cleared and sealed. The quantum scrubbers have finished removing our sensitive data from every galactic database we could access." Minho nodded. "Good. What about the fleet?" "Captain Yuna reports ready status from orbit. All ships are positioned and awaiting orders." Minho walked to the large window overlooking the operations floor. He was not a tall man, but he carried himself with absolute confidence. He had spent 15 years preparing for this moment, ever since he first read the classified document that changed everything. Captain Yuna's face appeared on the main screen. She was aboard the orbital command station, her sharp eyes scanning multiple displays at once. "Director, the last civilian transport has cleared the outer markers. We are sealed tight. No one gets in or out without our permission. Any reaction from the council yet?" Minho asked. "Their monitoring stations are confused. They are sending inquiry signals, but we are not responding." "Just as you ordered. Maintain the silence. They need to understand we are serious." Yuna hesitated for a moment, then asked the question that had been on many minds. "Sir, do you ever feel guilty about this? We deceived them for a long time." Minho's expression hardened. His jaw tightened, and his eyes grew cold. "They made their choice 3 months ago when they voted on Resolution 8472. We just responded to it. The resolution. That was what had triggered everything." Minho pulled up the document on his personal display, even though he had memorized every word. Resolution 8472 passed by the Galactic Council with a vote of 173 to 12. The language was carefully diplomatic, full of phrases like mutual benefit and shared resources and long-term stability. But the reality was simple. The Council had designated humanity's home system, including Earth, Mars, and all the outer planets, as a strategic resource zone to be partitioned among the major galactic powers. The timeline was 50 years, which the Council considered incredibly generous. Most species only got 20 years before losing their homeworld. The resolution claimed that this was standard procedure for integrating new species into the galactic community. It would allow humans to spread across the galaxy, while the Council managed their resource-rich home system more efficiently. Everyone would benefit, the document promised. Minho had sat in the gallery that day, watching the vote happen. He had watched species after species raise their appendages, tentacles, or whatever they used to signal agreement. Only 12 voted against it, small, weak species who knew they might be next, but were too afraid to matter. Deho, Earth's ambassador, had stood and argued passionately against the resolution. He had cited 300 years of cooperation, of friendship, of trust. The Council had listened politely, then voted anyway. Humanity's home system was simply too valuable, and humans were too new to have any real power to stop it. That night, Minho had met with Earth's president and military leadership. They had activated Protocol Sovereign, a contingency plan that had been developing quietly for decades. Some humans had always suspected the Council's true nature. They had prepared for this possibility, even while hoping it would never be necessary. Now, 3 months later, the preparation was complete. Humanity had withdrawn completely from the galactic stage. The Council was confused, concerned, and beginning to panic. They had expected compliance, negotiation, maybe some protests. They had not expected silence. They had not expected defiance. Minho turned back to his operations team. Begin Phase 2. I want every human colony on full alert. No exceptions. Yes, sir, the officer replied, relaying the orders. Minho allowed himself a small smile. The Council thought they knew humanity. They thought 300 years of observation had taught them everything about human nature. They were about to learn how wrong they were. The galaxy was about to discover that humans had not spent 3 centuries just learning and trading. They had been watching, analyzing, and preparing. And now, the real game was about to begin. Commander Kelleneth stood on the bridge of the warship, Eternal Judgment, watching the stars streak past as his fleet traveled toward the Sol system. Behind his flagship followed 50 more ships, representing the Council's investigation force. They had been sent to find out what happened to humanity and, if necessary, remind them of their obligations to the galactic community. The journey took 2 weeks at standard faster-than-light speeds. During that time, Kelleneth reviewed everything the Council knew about humans. They were a carbon-based species from a yellow star system. They had developed nuclear technology and primitive spaceflight on their own before the Council made first contact. They had joined the galactic community eagerly, adopting Council technology and customs with enthusiasm. Nothing in the records suggested they were capable of this kind of coordinated withdrawal. Humans had always seemed somewhat chaotic, their governments constantly arguing with each other, their planets politically divided. How had they unified so completely and so secretly? Approaching the outer boundary of the Sol system, his navigator announced. Kelleneth straightened in his command chair. Begin scanning. I want to know everything about this system. The first scans came back strange. The outer planets showed no signs of human activity. The mining stations on the moons of Jupiter and Saturn were abandoned, their automated systems shut down. The massive orbital facilities that had processed resources for export to the galaxy sat dark and empty. Where did they go? His tactical officer asked. Keep scanning. Focus on Mars and Earth. As the fleet moved deeper into the system, the scans of Mars appeared on the main display. The planet had been covered in terraforming projects, vast networks of atmosphere processors and water pumps slowly making the red planet livable. Now, all of it stood inactive. The half-finished dome cities were empty. The agricultural stations showed no life signs. "This is impossible," Kelleneth muttered. "You cannot just abandon terraforming operations. Where are the millions of workers who lived here?" His communications officer tried broadcasting on all frequencies. "Attention human vessels and stations. This is the Council Investigation Fleet Eternal Judgment. We request immediate contact with your authorities. Please respond." Only silence answered them. Earth grew larger on the view screen, a blue and white marble hanging in the darkness. Kelleneth had visited the planet once years ago for a trade conference. He remembered the crowded cities, the constant traffic of ships in orbit, the buzz of activity everywhere. Now, the orbital space seemed empty. "Sir, I am detecting something," the tactical officer said, his voice uncertain. "What is it?" "I am not sure. There are objects in orbit around Earth, but they are not appearing on standard scans. Only our most advanced sensors are picking them up, and barely." Kelleneth frowned. "Show me." The display changed, showing Earth surrounded by thousands of tiny signatures. They were too small to be ships, too numerous to be standard satellites. "Move us closer, but carefully." The fleet advanced toward Earth's orbit. Kelleneth sent another message, demanding contact, warning that continued silence would be considered hostile. Still no response came from the planet below. Then everything changed. The small signatures that had been floating, passively suddenly activated. Kelleneth watched in shock as thousands of platforms powered up simultaneously. They were defense weapons, he realized, far more advanced than anything humanity had ever shown the Council. Each one rotated smoothly, tracking his ships with targeting systems that made his tactical displays scream warnings. "Evasive action," Kelleneth shouted. "Sir, they are not firing," the tactical officer reported, his voice shaking. "They are just tracking us. Every single one is locked on, but they have not activated weapons." Kelleneth understood the message immediately. The platforms were not attacking because they did not need to. They were demonstrating capability, showing that they could destroy his entire fleet whenever they chose. The message was clear and terrifying. "You are not welcome here. Pull back the minimum safe distance," Kelleneth ordered. "Maintain defensive formation." His hands were shaking slightly as he sent an emergency transmission back to the Council. This was far beyond anything they had expected. Humanity had hidden military technology that surpassed Council standards. How long had they been developing it? How had they kept it secret? Back at the Council headquarters, panic was setting in. The chamber filled with representatives all shouting at once. Verhesh struggled to maintain order, his voice booming over the chaos. "Silence. We will address this calmly." But calm was becoming impossible, because at that exact moment, Admiral G1 of Earth appeared on every news network in the galaxy simultaneously. Her transmission bypassed all standard channels, appearing directly on billions of screens across hundreds of worlds. She wore the uniform of the human space navy, her expression cold and determined. Her words were simple and devastating. "People of the galaxy, I am Admiral G1 of the United Earth Forces. Humanity officially withdraws from the Galactic Council, effective immediately. We will maintain our territorial borders. We will defend our sovereignty. Any fleet or vessel entering our space without explicit permission will be considered hostile and dealt with accordingly." She paused, letting her words sink in across the galaxy. 3 months ago, the Council voted to partition our home system. They decided to take our birthplace from us, to scatter us across the stars while they claimed our worlds. We rejected this decision. We reject any authority that claims the right to take what is ours. The transmission showed Earth spinning slowly behind her, beautiful and untouchable. We do not seek war. We do not seek conquest. We seek only what every species deserves, the right to control our own destiny. The Council wanted our system? Her smile was cold. Come and take it. The transmission ended, leaving the galaxy in stunned silence. On Earth, in a secure command center in Tokyo, Engineer Soman activated the final component of humanity's secret infrastructure. Her fingers flew across the controls, initiating systems that had been built in hiding for decades, across the galaxy. In 37 different star systems, human colonies suddenly lit up on every scanner in Council space. These were systems the Council had deemed worthless, too far from major trade routes, too poor in easily accessible resources, too difficult to develop. The Council had given humans permission to settle them almost as an afterthought. But those systems were not worthless. They were strategic. They formed a network of positions that, when connected, gave humanity a presence across a vast region of space. And now, all of them were revealing the same thing: military installations, shipyards, defense platforms, and fleets. Someone watched the data flow across her screens. Every colony was reporting ready status. The network was complete. Humanity had not just withdrawn to Earth. They had fortified an entire region of space. "Director Minho," she said into her communicator, "the network is active. All colonies are showing green status. We are ready." Minho's voice came back calm and satisfied. "Excellent work. Now we wait and see how the Council responds." Soman leaned back in her chair, allowing herself a moment of satisfaction. Years of work, decades of preparation, all coming together perfectly. The Council had thought they were managing a primitive, eager species. They had no idea they were dealing with humans who remembered their own history, who knew what happened to weak species in a universe of predators. The galaxy was about to learn a hard lesson. Humanity was done being underestimated. Intelligence Director Kelman had not slept in 3 days. His office was filled with displays showing data streams, historical records, and intercepts from human transmissions. Counselor Verhesh had given him a simple assignment: find out how humanity had deceived them so completely. What Kelman was discovering made him wish he had never been assigned this task. "Show me the timeline again," he told his assistant. The display changed, showing 300 years of human council interaction. At first glance, it looked normal. Humans had joined the council, adopted galactic technologies, established trade relationships, and spread to nearby systems. They had seemed eager to integrate, perhaps overly friendly, but nothing suspicious. But when Kelman looked closer, patterns emerged. Every technology humans had shared with the galaxy was always slightly behind what they were actually capable of. Their ships used fusion drives when they demonstrated antimatter technology, but their best antimatter systems never appeared in Council records. Their weapons were adequate but never impressive. Their computers were functional but never revolutionary. They were always holding back, Kelman said aloud. Everything they showed us was carefully chosen. His assistant, a young analyst, called up another file. "Sir, I found something else. Remember the colony ship Magellan that disappeared 70 years ago? Yes, it was reported lost in a navigation accident. Tragic, but these things happen. I cross-referenced the disappearance with some unusual energy signatures our deep space monitors picked up in an uncharted region. The timing matches. Sir, I think that ship did not disappear. I think it went somewhere the Council could not follow." Kelman felt a chill run down his spine. "Show me." The display showed a region of space beyond Council territory, in an area considered too dangerous or worthless to explore. But there, hidden in the sensor data, were signs of massive industrial activity. Shipyards, manufacturing facilities, resource processing stations, all built in secret over decades. "They have been preparing for this since the beginning," Kalman whispered. This was not a sudden decision. This was a long-term plan. He started digging deeper, accessing classified council files that few beings in the galaxy had clearance to see. What he found there made everything make terrible sense. The expansion protocol. A document buried in council security systems, never meant for public viewing. It outlined the standard procedure for integrating new species into the galactic community. The language was clinical, detached, describing beings as resources to be managed. Step 1. Make contact with a promising species. Offer them technology and knowledge. Step 2. Encourage them to join the council. Make them feel welcomed and valued. Step 3. Allow them to establish colonies in marginal systems. This spreads them out and makes them dependent on council infrastructure. Step 4. After sufficient integration, claim their resource-rich homeworld for the greater good of the galactic community. The species gets access to the galaxy. The council gets their most valuable assets. Step 5. If the species resists, remind them of their military weakness and economic dependence. They always comply eventually. Kalman read through the entire protocol with growing horror. 47 species had joined the council in the last 2,000 years. He checked their current status. 31 no longer had sovereign control of their homeworlds. 12 existed only on council sufferance. Their planets technically theirs, but actually controlled by council governors and economic advisors. Only 4 species still maintained true independence. And 3 of those were ancient races that had joined the council as equals when it was first formed. Humanity would have been the 5th, but only if they had accepted their designated role. They figured it out, Kalman said. Somehow, humans discovered the expansion protocol. They saw what would happen to them and decided to prepare. On Earth, researcher Haijin was presenting her findings to Director Minho's cabinet. The conference room in Geneva held the most powerful humans in the solar system, and they listened to her with absolute attention. "I have spent 20 years studying council history," Haijin explained, her presentation floating in holographic form above the table. "The pattern is consistent across every new species that joins. Initial friendship, gradual integration, then systematic removal of sovereignty disguised as mutual benefit." She pulled up species after species, showing their histories. The Velkar had been spacefaring for only 2 centuries when the council found them. Now they existed as merchants and traders, their beautiful oceanic homeworld controlled by council mining operations. The Threks had been warriors and explorers, but their aggressive nature was deemed problematic. Now they served as council security forces, their children raised in council academies, their culture slowly erased. "The council does not conquer," Haijin continued. "They assimilate. They make species dependent, then they take what they want. It happens slowly enough that by the time a species realizes what is happening, they are too integrated to resist." President Junho leaned forward. "But we realized it. How?" "We were lucky," Haijin admitted. 60 years ago, a human hacker managed to break into a council database. She was looking for trade secrets, trying to get an edge for her company. What she found was the expansion protocol. She brought it to intelligence services, thinking it was some kind of mistake or mistranslation. Haijin pulled up the image of the hacker. A woman named Suji, who had died decades ago. Never knowing how important her discovery had been, military intelligence understood immediately. They brought it to the government in secret. President Junho's grandfather, made the decision to start preparing. He created Protocol Sovereign, a contingency plan to be activated if the Council ever tried to implement the expansion protocol against us. My grandfather never told anyone, Junho said quietly. I only learned about it when I took office. He could not risk the Council finding out. So the preparation happened in secret. Every administration for 60 years has contributed. Hidden shipyards built beyond Council censors. Technology development that was never shared. Colony placement that looked random but was actually strategic. And always, we played the role of eager, friendly humans who just wanted to be part of the galactic community. Director Minho nodded. We gave them what they expected to see. We made them comfortable. And while they were comfortable, we built everything we needed to stand on our own. Across the galaxy, in the council chambers, Military Coordinator Felthar was making his own presentation. Unlike He Jin's presentation, which was analytical and historical, Felthar's was simple and direct. We must act, he declared, his 6 legs stomping the floor for emphasis. Humanity has defied the Council. If we allow this to stand, other species will follow. The entire structure we have built over millennia will collapse. Verhesh shifted uncomfortably in his throne. What do you propose? A punitive expedition. 5,000 ships surrounding Earth. We give them one chance to surrender, then we enforce Council authority. We have done this before with rebellious species. It always works. The chamber filled with murmurs of agreement. The Council had never failed to subdue a species that defied them. Military force was rarely needed, but when applied, it was always overwhelming and always successful. How many ships can humanity field? One representative asked. Felthar consulted his tactical displays. Based on our observations over 300 years, perhaps 200 warships at most. Their technology was adequate, but unremarkable. Our 5,000 ships will outnumber them 25-1. And their defense platforms around Earth? Unknown technology, yes, but platforms are stationary. They can be destroyed from long range. This will be over quickly. The Council voted. The decision was nearly unanimous. 5,000 ships would assemble at the border of human space. Humanity would be given one final chance to accept Council authority. If they refused, the fleet would advance and pacify Earth by force. Only 12 species voted against the measure. The same 12 that had opposed Resolution 8472. They were ignored. Back on Earth. Minho received the intelligence report about the Council's decision. He called an emergency meeting of the Defense Council. They are sending 5,000 ships, he announced. They think they can intimidate us into surrender. Admiral Jiwan studied the fleet composition. 5,000 ships using technology we have already surpassed. They still think they know what we are capable of. Let them think that, Minho said. We will show them the truth when their fleet arrives. Prepare our forces, but maintain communication silence. I want the Council to believe they have already won. Captain Yuna asked the question everyone was thinking. Are we really ready to fight the entire galaxy? Minho's expression was grim but determined. We are ready to defend our home. And after 300 years of watching, learning, and preparing, we are ready to teach the galaxy a lesson it will never forget. Humanity will not be the 32nd species to lose their homeworld. We will be the first to make the Council back down. The pieces were in motion. The Council fleet was assembling. Humanity was preparing. And the galaxy was about to witness something it had never seen before. A new species saying no and making it stick. The Council fleet assembled at the boundary of human space, like a massive wall of metal and weapons. 5,000 warships from 200 different species, representing the largest military force the galaxy had mobilized in 400 years. Their combined firepower could crack planets and reduce moons to asteroids. Admiral Felthar stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Righteous Authority. watching the tactical displays with satisfaction. The fleet had formed into standard council battle formations, practiced and perfected over centuries. 3 layers of ships, the heaviest dreadnoughts in front, support vessels in the middle, carriers and long-range weapons in the rear. All ships report ready status, his tactical officer announced. Felthar nodded. Transmit the ultimatum on all frequencies. Let the humans know what they face. The message broadcast across every channel, impossible to ignore or block. Felthar's voice carried the weight of galactic authority. Attention, humanity. This is Admiral Felthar of the Galactic Council Armed Forces. You are surrounded by 5,000 warships representing the unified military might of the galaxy. Your defiance of Council authority ends now. You have 1 solar rotation to surrender sovereignty of your home system to Council management. You will reopen diplomatic channels. You will accept Council governance. If you refuse, we will advance and pacify your worlds by force. This is your only warning. The message ended. Felthar waited, expecting a response within minutes. Humans were emotional creatures. They would panic when faced with such overwhelming force. They would beg for negotiations, for more time, for mercy. Instead, the response that came was something Felthar would remember for the rest of his life. A single ship appeared in the exact center of the Council fleet. One moment the space was empty. The next moment a massive vessel simply existed there, as if it had materialized out of nothing. It had bypassed every sensor, every detection grid, every security measure the Council fleet had deployed. The ship was enormous, 3 times the size of the Council's largest dreadnought. Its hull was smooth and dark, covered in geometry that seemed to shift and change as Felthar watched. The design was unlike anything in Council databases. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. How did it get there? Felthar shouted. We had sensors watching that exact location. I do not know, sir. It just appeared. Our systems show no signs of faster-than-light travel, no engine signatures, nothing. Before Felthar could respond, a communication channel opened. The face of a human appeared on every screen in the Council fleet. He was older, perhaps 60 by human standards, with silver hair and eyes that held no fear whatsoever. I am Admiral Tajan of the United Earth Forces, commanding the flagship Indomitable. You have entered human space with a military fleet. You have issued an ultimatum demanding our surrender. I have a simpler response for you. Tajan's expression did not change. His voice remained calm and cold. Leave, now. You have 1 hour. Felthar felt rage surge through him. How dare this human, this representative of a species barely 3 centuries old, speak to the Council's fleet with such arrogance? You are in no position to make demands. We have 5,000 ships. You have 1. Then let me demonstrate, Tajan replied. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for generations. It would be called the 4-Minute War, and it would change everything. The space around the Council fleet suddenly filled with human ships. Hundreds of them, appearing from nowhere using the same technology that had brought the Indomitable. They emerged from what the humans called stealth fields, technology that bent sensor readings and made ships invisible to standard detection. But it was not the number of ships that shocked Felthar. It was what they did. The human fleet attacked with surgical precision. Weapons fired that the Council had never seen before. Beams of energy that passed through shields as if they were not there. Missiles that moved faster than anything in the Council arsenal, dodging defensive fire with impossible agility. The Council fleet tried to respond, tried to fight back. But it was useless. The humans were not trying to destroy them. They were systematically dismantling the fleet with brutal efficiency. Weapon systems exploded. Engine sections went dark. Communication arrays sparked and died. Shield generators overloaded and shut down. Ship after ship found itself crippled, dead in space, unable to fight or flee, but casualties were minimal. The humans targeted systems, not crew quarters. They destroyed capabilities, not lives. The message was clear and devastating. We could kill all of you, but we are choosing not to. You are not worth killing. Felthar watched his tactical display turn red as ship after ship reported disabled status. His own flagship shuddered as human weapons struck the engine core, careful strikes that shut down power without causing catastrophic failure. All ships, evasive action. Return fire! Felthar ordered desperately, but there was nothing to evade. The human ships moved with impossible speed and precision. Council weapons fired at positions the humans had occupied milliseconds ago. The few shots that connected splashed harmlessly off shields that were generations beyond Council technology. 4 minutes after it began, it was over. 5,000 Council ships floated dead in space, their systems crippled, their weapons destroyed, their crews alive but utterly defeated. Not a single human ship showed any damage. Admiral Taijin's face reappeared on Felthar's screen. The human's expression had not changed at all. Your hour is now 56 minutes. I suggest you use it to begin towing your ships out of our space. The next time a Council fleet enters human territory without permission, we will not be so gentle. Are we clear, Admiral? Felthar could not speak. His voice had abandoned him. He simply nodded. On Earth, in the defense center beneath Geneva, Colonel Bora monitored the battle from multiple displays. Around her, officers and analysts worked quietly, coordinating the fleet's actions with calm efficiency. A young officer approached her, his face showing shock despite his training. Colonel, we just defeated 5,000 ships in 4 minutes. Are we at war with the entire galaxy now? Bora shook her head, her expression thoughtful. No, Lieutenant. We are not at war. We are teaching them a lesson. What lesson? That war with humanity is unthinkable. The Council has ruled the galaxy for thousands of years because every species they encountered either joined willingly or was too weak to resist. They have never faced a species that could match their military power and chose to use that power carefully. She gestured at the displays showing the disabled Council ships. We could have destroyed that entire fleet. We could have killed millions of beings from hundreds of species. Instead, we disabled their ships and left their crews alive. We showed overwhelming force combined with restraint. I do not understand. Why not destroy them and make the lesson even clearer? Because the goal is not to terrify the galaxy, Bora explained. The goal is to make them respect us and fear the consequences of attacking us. Dead martyrs create resistance. Defeated but living opponents create caution. In his office in the presidential complex, President Junho prepared to deliver an address to both Earth and the galaxy. He had written it himself, refusing offers from speechwriters. This message needed to come from his heart. When the cameras activated, Junho spoke directly to his people and to the billions of beings watching across the stars. People of Earth, people of the galaxy. Today, a Council fleet came to our borders demanding our surrender. They threatened us with force if we did not submit to their authority. We responded by showing them the truth. Humanity will not surrender. Humanity cannot be threatened. And humanity will not accept subjugation disguised as partnership. He paused, letting his words carry across the void. We disabled their fleet without killing their crews because we are not monsters. We are not conquerors. We do not seek to rule the galaxy or destroy our neighbors. We seek only what every intelligent species deserves: the right to exist as free beings, to control our own destiny, to live without masters. The Council has operated under a system that treats new species as resources to be managed, assets to be claimed, children to be guided. We reject this system completely. We are not children. We are not resources. We are humanity, and we will never again bow to any authority that does not recognize our fundamental right to sovereignty. His expression softened slightly. To the people of the Council species, we hold no hatred for you. Your leaders made decisions that threatened us, but we understand that many of you knew nothing of the expansion, protocol, or the systematic removal of sovereignty from newer species. We offer friendship to any who approach us as equals. We offer partnership to any who respect our independence. But we will never again offer submission. The transmission ended. Junho sat back in his chair, feeling the weight of what he had just done. Humanity had declared itself equal to species that had traveled the stars for thousands of years. It was arrogant, revolutionary, and completely necessary. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched the disabled Council fleet begin the humiliating process of towing their ships away from human space. They watched the footage of the 4-minute war, seeing how easily humanity had defeated the Council's military might. The Galactic Council chamber had never been so chaotic. Representatives from 200 species shouted at each other in 100 different languages. The translation systems could barely keep up with the volume of angry voices. 3 weeks had passed since the 4-minute war, and the political structure of the galaxy was collapsing. Councilor Verhesh sat on his throne, looking older than his many years. The authority he had wielded so confidently was crumbling around him. Species after species was standing up, demanding answers, demanding change, demanding justice. The Vulcar representative, speaking for a species whose oceanic homeworld had been under council management for 600 years, slammed multiple appendages on her podium. You told us it was for the greater good. You told us we would benefit from sharing our resources. Now we learn humans simply refused, and you could do nothing. What makes them different from us? They had military technology we did not anticipate, Verhesh tried to explain. Then let them share the technology with us. Let us defend ourselves too. That is not how council integration works. Council integration is slavery with extra steps. A Threx warrior shouted from across the chamber. We gave you our children to educate, our warriors to command, our culture to preserve. And what did we receive? The privilege of serving the species that joined before us. More voices joined in. Species that had been quiet for centuries suddenly found their courage. The Nexian Collective demanded renegotiation of their membership terms. The Paxer Union threatened to close their space to council ships. The Kelvin Free World simply declared independence outright. Verhesh tried to restore order, but the chamber ignored him. For the first time in millennia, the council's authority was being openly challenged. Not by one species, but by dozens. In a private chamber away from the chaos, Intelligence Director Kelman met with a small group of representatives from species that still remembered what real sovereignty meant. They were the old ones, the species that had founded the Council thousands of years ago, when it had been a genuine alliance of equals. This is our fault, admitted Representative Hevna of the Archon Collective, one of the eldest species in the galaxy. We allowed the Council to become something it was never meant to be. We were comfortable, powerful, secure. We did not notice when integration became subjugation. Kelman nodded. The expansion protocol was written gradually, piece by piece, over centuries. Each generation made it slightly worse, slightly more controlling. None of us alive today created it, but we all benefited from it. The humans exposed it, another representative said. They held up a mirror and forced us to see what we had become. So, what do we do now? Hevna asked. We change, Kelman replied simply. Or we watch the Council destroy itself in civil war. There are already 16 species demanding renegotiation. 3 have declared independence. If we try to force them back into line, others will join them. The humans have shown that resistance is possible. Can we negotiate with humanity? Would they even speak with us? I believe they will, Kelman said. They have not closed all channels. They simply refuse to accept council authority. If we approach them as equals rather than subjects, they might listen. The decision was made. The council would send a delegation to Earth, not to demand submission but to negotiate. It was a humiliation for species that had dictated terms for thousands of years. But the alternative was watching their entire civilization collapse. Ambassador Deho stood at the landing platform in Seoul, watching the council shuttle descend. He had not expected to return to active diplomacy so soon. But Director Minho had specifically requested him for this meeting, and Deho had agreed. The shuttle landed smoothly. The ramp extended, and Kelman emerged, followed by representatives from 5 of the council's founding species. They walked down the ramp slowly, carefully, their body language showing uncertainty that Deho had never seen from council representatives before. "Welcome to Earth," Deho said formally. "Director Minho is waiting." They traveled to the conference facility in Geneva in silence. The council representatives stared out the windows at Earth cities, seeing the planet properly for the first time. Everything was so different from council worlds. The architecture, the culture, the energy of the place felt alien to them. In the conference room, Director Minho waited with President Junho and Admiral Jiwon. The two groups faced each other across the table, separated by history, conflict, and fundamental disagreements about how the galaxy should work. Kelman spoke first. "Director Minho, President Junho, Admiral Jiwon, we come not as representatives of the Council's authority, but as beings seeking a solution to a crisis that threatens us all." "Go on," Minho said neutrally. "The Council is fragmenting. 16 species are demanding renegotiation of their membership terms. 3 have declared full independence. Others are considering it. The political structure that has governed the galaxy for thousands of years is collapsing. And you want humanity to help you preserve it?" Jiwon asked skeptically. "No," Hevna interjected. "We want humanity to help us transform it." That got their attention. Junho leaned forward. "Explain." "The Council as it exists cannot continue," Hevna said bluntly. "You have exposed its fundamental injustice. Species across the galaxy now understand that integration meant giving up sovereignty. They want what you have: independence, self-determination, freedom. Then give it to them," Minho replied. "It is not that simple. The Council provides real benefits: trade networks, shared technology, mutual defense, scientific cooperation. If we simply dissolve everything, the galaxy will descend into chaos. Weaker species will be exploited by stronger ones. Borders will become battlegrounds. Everything will collapse." Deho spoke up. "So you want a new system, one that provides the benefits without the subjugation?" "Yes," Kelman confirmed. "And we need humanity's help to build it. You have the military power to enforce real change. You have the moral authority of successful resistance. And you have clearly thought about these problems for decades." Minho and Junho exchanged glances. They had expected many things from this meeting, but not this. Not the Council asking for help to restructure itself. "What exactly are you proposing?" Junho asked. "Dissolution of the current Council and creation of a new galactic assembly," Hevna explained. "All species, regardless of age or power, would have equal representation. No more management of homeworlds. No more forced integration. No more expansion protocol. Complete sovereignty for all member species," Kelman added. "Membership would be voluntary and could be revoked at any time. The assembly would coordinate trade, share scientific knowledge, and provide mutual defense, but it would not govern." "And if species refuse to join?" Jiwon asked. Then they remain independent with no penalties. The era of forced compliance ends. Minho sat back, considering. This was more than they had hoped for. The complete restructuring of galactic governance, with humanity having a voice in how it was built. There is one condition. Minho said finally, name it. Any species that wants independence from the current council will receive humanity's protection during the transition. No forced reunification, no economic punishment, no military pressure. If the council tries to hold on to power by force, we will ensure those species have the strength to resist. The council representatives looked at each other. It was a bold demand, essentially making humanity the guarantor of galactic political freedom. You would go to war to protect species you have never even met? Kelman asked. We will go to war to ensure no species suffers what the council tried to do to us, Minho replied firmly. That is not negotiable. After a long pause, Havna nodded. Agreed. Humanity's protection in exchange for humanity's participation in building the new assembly. The negotiations lasted for 3 months. Representatives from dozens of species came to Earth, adding their voices to the discussion. The debates were fierce, the disagreements fundamental, but slowly a new structure emerged. The reformed Galactic Assembly would have no permanent leadership. Species would rotate through administrative positions. All decisions would require broad consensus, preventing any one faction from dominating. Military forces would remain under individual species control, with cooperative defense pacts replacing centralized command. Most importantly, the concept of sovereign homeworld rights was enshrined as the Assembly's first principle. No species could ever be forced to share their home system. No outside authority could claim jurisdiction over a species' birthplace. On the day the Reformed Assembly held its first session, Ambassador Deho sat in the renovated chamber alongside representatives from hundreds of species. The old throne where Verhesh had sat was gone, replaced by a circular arrangement where everyone could see each other as equals. Councillor Verhesh himself attended, no longer a leader but simply another representative. He approached Deho during a break in the proceedings. Ambassador, Verhesh said quietly, may I ask you a question? Of course. Your people could have simply left. You could have isolated yourselves, built your own empire, ignored the galaxy completely. Why did you stay? Why help us build this new system? Deho considered the question carefully before answering. Because isolation is not strength. My people spent centuries believing we had to either submit or separate.